What's up, guys? State of Podcast. David here to chat some more pointless shit you don't want to listen to. And I'm back.
Adam is in fact back. I don't know. What?
To, to quote George Clooney from Spy Kids 3, to settle the score for imprisoning me, for using me. And I would do that in a Stallone impression, but I'm not nearly confident enough.
Well, you're just annoyed because David.
Missed out on E3.
What? We stole E3.
Yeah, it didn't happen for me.
Didn't
I was locked in a box.
Well, there's always E4
There is E4.
next
Although I
year.
believe that's a TV channel.
I mean, I don't think that intro tops David's last week, which was probably the best intro we've ever had.
Yeah, what was it again?
What time is it, David? It's E3 o'clock.
Oh, yeah, he did do
That was tasty, though. That was some
Yeah,
tasty
that
stuff.
was.
But no, of course we're talking about horror this week. Specifically.
You waiting for me to continue?
Yeah, I was. I was
Alright.
like, there was a long pause there. I didn't like that.
I guess the two horror films that I've seen most recently,
Quite
Quiet Place 1 and 2.
I've also only seen them recently. I mean, what first one came out 2018 was it?
It's not 2018 yet.
I mean, apparently everyone in the world had seen it, but us too.
That tends to be the case with a lot of things for me. I
Yeah.
just never get around to.
Yeah, I mean,
Watching
same
them.
thing happened with me and Get Out.
Yeah, that one to me and Get Out for a while.
Yeah, because like I think I had seen it, I don't know, a couple of months before Us came out.
Yeah, I definitely saw it before Us came out.
Yeah. But no, I mean, we've been meaning to do this for a while, because I have a touchy relationship with horror.
Yeah, I'm not a big horror guy, to be honest.
But it's not even like my problem with horror. It's like, well, what is horror? You know what I mean? Like what makes a horror film a horror film? Because you know, like you have The Shining, for example, which is considered a horror film. I compare it to more of like a glorified thriller.
Yeah, but then what's the difference between a horror and a slasher?
See, that's the thing.
Because a lot of people would then associate the horror genre with Krueger and
Yeah.
Krueger and
Yeah,
Jason, and
which that is a slash. That's a subgenre of horror.
Myers, and
Yeah,
yeah.
and then like you
But
have.
then I also don't
obviously-
find movies like A Quiet Place particularly scary. I don't really get scared in films.
No,
So when I'm saying I'm not a horror fan, it's not really that I
Enjoy
can't
the
handle
narrative?
horror. Yeah, I enjoyed the narrative, and I enjoy if it's shot well,
Yeah.
and if its music's done well.
yeah, because like that's
And
why.
then it can often be hard to get horror films that stand well as like an actual film above kind of a shitty concept. So I've watched some crappy horror films this year. We've had a lot of time inside, Alex. We've had a lot of time. We've had a lot of time inside. That's time that I shouldn't have spent watching the Slender Man movie.
Oh God, you didn't actually, did you?
Oh, we watched it. It was shit.
Well, you see, this is my because like modern horror is an amalgamation of really shit horror films that are trying to be quirky and unique, and then actual genuine horror films which reinvent the genre with unique concepts.
And quick buck cash grabs as
Yeah.
well. We can't ignore
Because
that.
like horror films are at their best when they're really low budget, I think, because not only does it give it this sort of raw realness to it, whereas if you have like $100 million and you're making a film, it doesn't feel kind of like realistic and natural, if you know what I mean. Whereas
Well,
if you
that can depend on the director, though, to be fair.
yeah, that's
Like,
true.
take Sam Raimi and you give him a budget, he's gonna turn out as similar.
Well, like Evil Dead, they were quite low budget films that didn't make money.
They made enough. But they made so many of them, too.
I think the first one was the only one that turned a profit. I was researching.
Even
it.
Army of the Darkness didn't?
Army of Darkness didn't do well.
Yeah,
I think because it was a weird.
It made 11 million on a $21 million
Yeah.
budget, so
I think
it
most
tanked.
horror films have just kind of cult followings, if you know what I mean, where they do better on DVD than they did on their theatrical run.
Well, that's what carried most of the Friday and Nightmare series.
Yeah.
because they were pumping those out nearly every year,
Yeah.
and they often they have big intentions and big plans for a lot of those films that they just didn't have any money to make. Like Jason Takes Manhattan
Yeah.
was supposed to be set in Manhattan, but
Yeah.
budget reasons meant it had to be set on a boat.
Yeah, I would just be on a boat for what was it, like 2/3 of the film?
It was like in a boat for 2/3, and then they were just in I think they filmed in Canada or something.
Yeah. But well, I think like the film series that comes to mind that kind of not only did well on its theatrical run, but also on DVD sales would be Saw. But I think Saw came out at that perfect time when DVDs started to go up. If you know what I mean, like when DVDs became such common practice after VHS, just sort of mid 2000s, around 2004, 2005.
Pirate DVDs were also huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
And a lot of those horror films would have been, it would have been a lot of pirate copies going around.
Yeah. Because I think it was
lot.
Saw 2 had, in that year, I think it was 2005, or 2004. That year it had the highest amount of DVD sales that year for Lionsgate. Or maybe it was the all time. That's kind of a terrible fact I just gave everyone there. Please don't go out and tell people that might not be true. Look, please research that. If me and Adam give a fact, it's probably sort of...
We've heard it somewhere.
It's half in the bag, right? It's not...
Definitely.
There's some truth to it. But not
I'm sorry, I was just looking up Evil Dead. They're still trying to make them.
Yeah. Oh, I think there was something about Ash there recently. Not the TV show, but they're trying to do another one or something, another Evil Dead.
Yeah, but he doesn't want to do it. Campbell doesn't want to do it anymore.
No.
He probably will.
Oh, they probably will eventually. I mean, I think the weird thing was, and the reason Army of Darkness didn't do well was because it wasn't called Evil Dead 3, even though it was Evil Dead 3.
Yeah, but the Evil Dead remake didn't really do too well.
No, I enjoyed it.
I don't think
it was
people
that bad.
who watched that, their plans for the Evil Dead franchise were kind of all over the place.
Yeah, much like Raimi.
Badly, because that was supposed to be continued with a direct sequel.
Yeah,
but they were also still going to do Evil Dead 4,
Mm.
which was then I don't think you can reboot and continue original series.
Yeah,
at
I
the
don't
same
think you have
time.
two at the same time. I know what you mean.
I
yeah.
think you can distribute differently.
Yeah.
I know we're big supporters of Affleck continuing on as Batman, but I wouldn't want that in a cinema film. I just think it would clutter up.
Well, that's what kind of became what Ash, the TV show
Yeah.
which I think is a smart idea. If you had
That show got cancelled before it ever got a proper ending, I think.
Yeah, I think it only had 2 or 3 seasons. I think people enjoyed it, which was weird. It's just not enough people watched it.
I think it was one of those shows that also just kind of forever to get to the point.
Yeah, well, that's just
the
kind
big
of
issue with
Evil
American.
Dead.
That's just American TV as well, though.
Yeah. See, Evil Dead is such a niche market where, well, the weird thing was the remake was very horror. The original is a horror film, but there is a bit of corniness to it. It's Sam Raimi, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then the remake was just oh no, we want this to kind of be a horror film. There's not really kind of a lot of corniness. You know what I mean? And I've watched a lot of Raimi horror films. I watched Drag Me to Hell, which is just pure Raimi, where it is a horror film, but it is a lot of comedy aspects.
Surgery scene from Spider-Man 2.
The what?
Famous surgery scene from Spider-Man 2.
Yes. Well, that's stuff like that I kind of enjoy. You know.
Yeah.
Horror directors going on just doing, but there's always a wee hint, if you know what I mean.
How did modern horror end up with a chat about Evil Dead for so long?
I know, right? Well, we sort of break our way into because James Wan in a way, you know what I mean.
I used to love the Conjuring films. I loved the first two. Rewatched the second one.
I was never a big fan. I watched the first one. I didn't enjoy it too much.
It was okay.
Yeah. What, the new one or the first one?
I rewatched the second one, and I really liked the second one. I don't think I could go back to that. I don't think I can go watch 3. Was a series that also has just kind of been going on too long now.
Well, I always thought that James Wan was at his best when he was paired with Leigh Whannell.
What
Who
films did they
obviously,
make together?
huh?
What films did they make together?
Well, they obviously Leigh Whannell wrote the first Saw film and James Wan directed it. I think they did Dead Silence. They might have done the first Insidious. I could be wrong.
Tokyo Drift.
Tokyo Drift. No. I think they did another film as well, but they're both very. I enjoy their work, but I enjoy it more when they're together. I mean, I know Leigh Whannell.
James Wan did do the Fast and Furious films, and I'm not going mental.
No, he did one. He did 7.
Oh, 7.
He did 7.
More than, did he produce other ones?
He must have produced other ones, but the only one he actually directed was 7.
Okay. Must have produced other ones. I just remember him being involved in that franchise.
Yeah.
Like franchise.
No, because he did that, and then he did Aquaman,
Yeah, currently doing Aquaman too.
The Lost Kingdom. But Leigh Whannell, I think, does horror better than James Wan. Because like his most recent film, The Invisible Man, which
Oh yeah.
is it a horror? Like, you know, this is my thing. Like, again, I would treat it with The Shining as a glorified thriller, but it's kind of a horror film.
That would be more horror-y than Invisible Man.
Yeah. But I really enjoyed, like, because obviously it's history of horror. He did like the horror aspects of The Invisible Man were done really well, as well as, like, you know, it was more of a psychological thriller, that film, I feel, than a horror film. But
well, that was a different film because the main character gets broken down both psychologically,
yes,
and physically.
Yes.
Whereas Shining, on the main character, it is more so psychological in that film.
Oh yeah.
Than a physical kind of trauma, and that's
Yeah.
kind of where Invisible Line blurs a little bit.
Yeah.
Because a big thing in horror is the character being broken psychologically or physically or both. Because it kind of depends how the plot's going to play out.
Well, I think
Like Hereditary did quite a good job of having it be okay.
like the people I've spoken to, it's like a coin, where half the people I've spoken to really like it, and the other half really don't understand why people like it.
Oh, I thought it was okay. I don't get scared, so
yeah.
like,
No,
if I go in expecting it, I'm not gonna get it.
Yeah, because like I don't really get scared of horror films.
No.
Really. I know people that do and like genuinely are terrified, but I don't know whether it was the fact that I've watched them since I was a kid, and you know I've grown out of it or something. But I don't know.
See, I didn't watch horror films when I was a kid. I was a little bitch, but like I don't find horror films scary. Like, there are people who are legit terrified of the It movies.
Yeah, I don't get that.
Like they were not scary, but
we call it to Andy Muschietti there.
I wanna segue this into something where I've recently realized that I get much more scared at unpredictable media. I guess interactive. A game. So I played Resident Evil Village. I played Resident Evil 7. I never played 7. I went back and played 7, then played Village. And in film, there's a sense of predictability to it because you know something is bound to happen at some point, and there's nothing that will change this. You're on a set path from A to B. In a game where you have an AI that reacts and can just kind of do its own thing, it really changes kind of the tension.
Yeah.
Because there's no sense of control in this.
Like Alien Isolation comes to mind.
Alien Isolation was one of the first popular ones that did it. I really did it.
Like I remember reading about
no game has just done it fully yet because they'll always do it for sections, but no game really had the confidence to do it for a long-standing plot.
Yeah. Because
Isolation kept making you fight like the androids.
I think it was just to break up the stress. If you know what I mean.
Yeah,
like it's a different enemy, but it's sort of similar where you're still trying to hide.
what we need is a game that fully embraces that.
Yeah. Because I think the DLC does that.
Yeah, but the DLC's short. That's the... Is that the one you played as
He plays Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah, he plays Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah. Ellen Ripley.
Yeah, I was saying Ripley, but
Yeah,
then I
because
was
both were
thinking,
called
I was
Ripley though.
thinking, I was
Yeah, you
thinking
know.
Ridley, and I'm like, no, but Ridley Scott.
Oh yeah. Um,
So I was just going mental. So I think like, I think horror might work better in games than it does in films.
but I think that's a different media, if you know what I mean. If you think about it, like
Yeah, and I think the media favors it.
yeah. Well, I
Just for
think it's
me.
because you are this character.
Yeah,
I
when
think it especially works for first-person horror games rather than third-person. More
yeah,
so.
I mean the recent Resident Evil remakes, definitely Resident Evil 2
Yeah.
did an alright job of it, but I think first is still definitely preferable
Mm.
for it.
Mm.
Because it just puts you in it more. It's like, I don't know. Or you know those things like haunted houses? Like in real life
Yeah.
haunted houses. They aren't scary. They are incredibly annoying.
Yeah.
Whenever you have that disconnect that you know this isn't real, this is people in suits, and once you get that disconnect, it's really hard to regain it because it's just like these people are just like in my face screaming, and I just don't enjoy this.
Yeah. I mean,
I think there's a certain amount of that with films, like where I'm just kind of like I am more so like appreciating things like the score, the act, especially the Quiet Place films.
I enjoy. Well, we'll get to that in a moment, but yeah, go on.
Yeah, I think the score for these films is actually pretty good. I think they're actually quite underrated.
Yeah. Well,
It's not. If you've probably watched this podcast a while, I am a very big score guy.
Yeah.
The things that I was thinking about this last day, Alex, about the things that matter to us in films now are a bit different. How you're definitely more plot, and we do appreciate everything. Don't get me wrong, but you're definitely more
I like the
shots and
narrative.
plot. Your shots and plot.
Yeah.
I'm music.
Like I like
and I'm music. I'm music and choreography
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. Like I like
And body
parallels
language.
between cinematography, and you're more like parallels between soundtrack as well.
Yeah, and
If you know.
definitely a physicality of performance and more performances maybe.
Mm.
Because I certainly do like a certain physicality to roles. I was just thinking about this last day and how we kind of differ.
You like Zack Schneider and his how he loves the human body. Is that what you're gonna say? Because have you seen any of his films? That man
It
loves.
does.
He loves just the human physique.
We can't get into. I think I've actually made my point before in terms of how Zach doesn't actually. It's not that he doesn't sexualize anyone. It's that he's not. There's no female male bias. He shoots everyone the same. And it's
yeah.
incredibly.
Yeah.
Like it was just maybe like there's a scene just like when like all the women are holding up the platforms in Themyscira, and I'm like,
Oh,
he shoots
yeah.
that exactly as he shot Cavill and Man of Steel holding up the oil rig.
Mm.
Like he doesn't have any bias.
No.
on him.
He just loves the human form.
Yeah, he just loves ripped physiques.
Yeah.
Which you don't see too many of in horror. It's not as important, I guess. Having, I guess, often,
Army of the Dead.
Often horror directors are probably more fond of the female physique, as many of those
Yeah.
shitty horror films prove.
Oh yeah. Where it's always a woman wearing like paper thin clothes that are always wet or covered in blood.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
like a towel or something.
And she's always wearing like she's always looks kind of okay.
Yeah.
You know, she never looks fucking distressed.
Comes out the shower, the hair is wet, but it's not like how actual long hair is.
Yeah.
So it's like, I can't see my face.
Yeah.
How the fuck am I supposed to fight a ghoul? Like,
Uh,
well, that's a big thing, like, in the 80s and 90s. Like,
was
most
always
horror
female
films
protagonists.
wasn't necessarily there was female protagonists. There was so much nudity in horrors in the 80s and 90s.
well, I think it's
because-
almost that vulnerability.
I
that you
don't
have.
think much of it was
No,
artistic
I don't.
choice,
I mean,
Alex.
like coming from like I try and just, like this is the way I would have viewed it. Like if I was looking at it from a story perspective, but
Yeah, it is. It is an excuse to get
yeah,
20-something-year-old woman
Yeah.
playing teenagers.
Yeah.
To
good.
like people playing teenagers to fuck in the woods.
Yeah.
Like they literally went hand in hand so much. I
mean,
guess
Friday the 13th's the worst for that. I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like the
that
whole
was
plot
awful.
of that is just a bunch of kids going. Well, not kids, the teenagers going to the woods, and they're just fucking the whole time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's when we kind of saw a reinvention of that kind of idea more recently in It Follows,
Oh, I love. Yeah.
where it
I
actually
love that
played
film.
quite an important role then in the plot.
Yeah, but then there's also like the actual undertones where it's meant to be about STDs, basically
Yeah.
the awareness of it, like, yeah.
Which is something like, if you tried to do a concept like that, let's say in the 70s, 80s, 90s kind of thing, it never would have happened.
No. Right, we're just going to
Okay.
spoil a lot of horror films that we've seen. We just need to clarify this right now. We're just going to talk about horror films, and we're just going to assume you've watched them, okay?
Yeah.
Because, like, I need to talk about It Follows. It Follows is probably one of the best horror films in the past 10 years.
We've definitely seen some good horror films lately.
But I think It Follows is kind of like my definition of what I look for in a horror film. And I think stuff like A Quiet Place, for example, is another great aspect of that, where it's this unique concept that we've not really seen from that genre before. And it plays it off really well, not just narratively, but in terms of just, uniqueness, if you know what I mean. Like, It Follows, it works low budget wise as well, if you know what I mean. Like, It Follows, the whole concept of it is, right, if you it's just like an STD if you think about it, right? Yeah, so basically imagine someone has an STD, and if you fuck that person, then you would also have the STD, right? Now imagine that, but instead of an STD, there's someone like a creature no one can see, but that one person that has the STD can see, that is coming to kill them. And it could be anyone. They look like anyone. It can change no matter what, but only the person that has that can see it. Now if it's passed on to you, it doesn't follow them anymore, and it follows you. But if you die, it will go back to them. Like, concepts like that are pretty cool. A Quiet Place is a great example of, not just from a sound design perspective, but from just seeing how the characters act so differently because of the situation they're in. Just how the, creatures, I don't even
But
think
then putting in unique set of circumstances, like having someone be deaf or having a newborn kid.
Yeah.
In that scenario. Although mine's got a bit ruined when I saw Quiet Place 2 days ago. And whenever cinemas, I don't know, some cinemas, when you get those big cinemas, like those big kind of multi-screen cinemas, some sound can leak through.
Oh, right, yeah.
So, like, when I was trying to do the quiet moments in a quiet place, you could just hear it in the heights.
Yeah.
Like the songs from it playing in the background.
Kind of
and it's like,
that aspect, yeah.
Yeah, as soon as audio kicks back in the quiet place, it was fine, but it's just in those quiet moments where it's just trying to build any form of suspense.
Well, I think...
And all you can hear is fucking in Washington. I said, shut the fuck up.
Well, no, I think A Quiet Place, both of them. I mean, I watched the first one with headphones on, like I was watching on my phone, Apple
with
TV.
your AirPods.
With my AirPods.
Oh,
it's probably the best experience for it, because like I was watching it in my room on my own, and it was like probably the best, because like you could hear everything perfectly, but when it was quiet, it was just dead silence basically. Whereas like if you're in a cinema, people would just be like eating popcorn or shit like that, and it would still be distracting you, if you know what I mean. But I think films like, well, just specifically just Quiet Place, I think it's best when you're at your home, alone, basically watching it. I mean, you don't have to watch it with headphones, but I think it helps with the immersion, if you know what I mean.
I mean, especially when you compare it to American cinemas, where apparently it's now being glorified to scream and chant at every
it's basically like an amusement park.
I love, I know it's a tangent, but I love, when you go back and watch like videos like Force Awakens day one reaction, Endgame day one reaction, you see the people in the comments.
Yeah.
And like, people love the screaming.
I don't get it.
I really don't
I think a lot of people just go for the experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas if anyone talked, I'd be like, shut the fuck up. You know what I mean?
I think I remember someone tried to do it maybe like second time I saw Endgame, and it's just like got shut down. Because I just don't have that be a thing here. It's so annoying.
No. I don't want it to kind of carry over, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I really don't get it. Or a big thing is people I think people do a lot during horror films, you know, like, oh, don't go upstairs. What are you doing that for? Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
When do people do this?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I do hate when people speak to me during films. I hate when I go to the cinema with new people. There's a certain amount that's okay, but you need to know your timing.
Yeah.
You need to pay attention to what's on, and you need to be mindful of what film is playing.
I think we're all right when we go.
I mean, we kind of found a system.
We find a good balance.
Yeah, it also depends on how busy the cinema is. We'll be a bit more lenient.
Like, as an example, Adam and I, when we went to see Rise Skywalker, we both said beforehand, we were like, no, right, we're not going to talk throughout this, nothing, like, you know, it's the final ending of the trilogy, of the three trilogies.
This might not paint us in a bad light, but this was the midnight screening.
This was also the midnight screening. How
long did we last? We had just seen 7 and 8 in a triple bill.
Yeah.
It was a triple bill. I want to take some context. I'm talking, everyone there had seen 7 8. If you hadn't, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, I mean, the
so we're
films
still
have
watching
been out.
it.
Yeah. Why would you watch 9?
It, there's a little bit of, smart aleck comments going back and forth, as you do.
Yes.
9 starts to go, alright, let's just shut up now, pay attention.
Comes up.
Might do a wee nod over back, and it starts 2 minutes in. Not even 2 minutes in.
Not even 2 seconds in.
Title crawls roll and says the dead speak, and we give up.
We looked at each other, we were like, oh fuck. And we were just like, rules broken straight away.
We knew exactly what we were getting into.
I mean, I love that title crawl, because it does just tell you, right, do not take this film seriously whatsoever.
Yeah. But taking us back to horror, I think sometimes there can be a certain amount of people who don't, because horror, often it's date nights or it's groups of teenagers or something, so they genuinely just don't care. It's
always a specific audience, basically.
Yeah, and they do. Groups of teenagers can be fucking head frying. You get a group of 15-year-olds in the same cinema as you, you're just like, shit.
Yeah.
You know what you're
like, you're not going to enjoy this film.
Yeah, chances
are. I think
it's not.
I went in local cinema that we have here. Went in. It was like the first time they were showing It Chapter 2. I hadn't seen it. You were there. Oh, you were there, weren't you?
I was there for this. So it was a couple of us were meeting Alex down at the cinema, and we go down, and it must be packed with. I want to say, this isn't a very big cinema. This is for maybe a town of a couple of thousand. Cinema.
I think it has 300 seats or something max.
That's more than I thought it had.
Yeah.
Like it's used for like the local town pantomimes and stuff whenever it's like needed. Proper old cinema.
One screen.
I think it's like over 100 years old, the building. Maybe 150 years old, something like that now. It's been a while. And it was packed with maybe about, I want to say 60, 70 13 to 15-year-olds.
Yeah, all at the back.
Oh no, this is just the queue. I didn't even see in there.
Oh, I went in because you didn't go in. I met you downstairs.
Yeah.
Right, so basically I went in, went upstairs, had bought me a ticket, walked in, saw there was like so many, like sitting down basically. It was basically packed. The whole place was nearly packed, right? Went in, I was like, oh fuck, no I can't, and I just walked out. I didn't even get my money back. I was like, no, I can't. I had to just walk out straight away. And I grabbed you, so I was like, no, you don't go in, and you're like, why? I was like, no, it's packed, it's literally packed, like.
Which at the time the same cinema was doing like a later screening of it as well, like 10.
Yeah, because that one was
rare for the cinema to do like one more to do an extra screening. This is like a very rare occurrence. And then I think you didn't come, but the rest of us went back to my house and watched the first one. And you just gave up. Just went to the pub.
No, I did go to the pub, didn't I?
You went to the pub.
I did, yeah. Forgot about that. I think I just walked immediately up to the pub.
Because it was like 10 o'clock, I messaged you, like, right, we're going to this now, are you coming? And you were right.
I'm in the pub.
Yeah, I'm not making it.
Yeah. But no, I think, right, Quiet Place. Let's talk about it. So, first one, what do you think?
So, the first one was alright. It was a bit basic. I do wonder, after I watched the first one, I did wonder how it kind of took everyone by storm so much.
I
'Cause I
think
thought
it's
it was
just
good.
the unique concept and the sound design was the big thing, really. Because the sound design's
Yeah,
really
remember
good,
the comparisons everyone made at the time was to Bird Box. Well,
which I
Bird
haven't
Box was like
seen.
a year later. Yeah, I think Bird Box was quite a bad copy of it in
Alright.
terms of was a book, I think, anyway, but it was convenient timing for Netflix to pump out a cheaper kind of equivalent within like
Mm,
maybe a year.
mm.
Yeah, I thought it was all right. I mean, Krasinski, I think it was his second big directing, not even big. It was his first big directing job, and it was one of his
It's the second directing
earlier.
of a film.
Yeah, I think he did like a comedy, didn't he?
Yeah.
I did a bit of research before this, and so like the most famous thing he was known for in terms of creating was the Office intro,
Mm.
and he was known as the funny guy from the Office.
I think he directed a couple episodes as well.
He probably did.
Yeah. Mm.
He's probably directed a couple of episodes of a bunch of stuff.
Mm.
So like as far as his first kind of big film goes that he wrote and directed, he did well.
Yeah, I enjoyed
He
it.
did really well, and I
Um,
think yeah, we'll get to the second one after because
mm.
I think some praise needs to be given.
So I watched first one, and everyone like had told me this is like the greatest horror film since
This
I
is
know,
what
The
modern
Shining,
horror is.
like, uh, and I watched it. And I was like, yeah, no, it's an enjoyable first movie, and I was like, my only problem with it was it wasn't a film. It was half a film. Like I watched it and I was like, where's the rest? Like, because it doesn't feel like a full film. It's my only problem with it.
I was kind of fine with that because I quite like the idea of films are more so they don't necessarily need to follow a 3 act structure, but they're kind of just offering a snapshot into a unique kind of world,
Oh, I
which
understood
that
that.
kind of was.
But
So,
I was
'cause-
shocked at the fact that I heard afterwards, because I was just reading some stuff, and Krasinski said, oh, there was literally no plans for a sequel originally.
yeah,
And having watched the second one, I I wish they were one film. I know it would never have happened, obviously, because
actually,
obviously
I quite like it as two films. I just don't want any more.
because I think they flow really well into, because obviously
Picks up.
it picks up immediately after, and I think we'll just obviously we're spoiling it, but start of the second one is day one.
Yeah, we
And
see the start of it.
I love that being the midway point in the story, if you know what I mean. I mean, obviously we're probably going to get a third one, but still, if you know what I mean, so far.
So the next Quiet Place, there is apparently a Quiet Place project coming out in 2023, I think, but it's so far
It will be a
spin-off,
third
and
one.
it's not directed by Krasinski.
Oh, really?
I mean, yeah, no, this is a different kind of project that's going ahead.
Probably. See, Quiet Place works because almost like The Walking Dead, where you could put it anywhere in the world and it kind of works because it was a global event, if you know what I mean, that caused this sort of a thing. So you can have a spin off anywhere, and
Was
it'll
it
show
a
a different
global event?
concept. Huh?
Was it a global event though?
Well, America at least.
Yeah, because they can't swim.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I think that's another thing that I liked, where the first one gives you like from both of them, you learn different things just from a lot of people, like Cillian Murphy's character didn't know about you could even kill them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like you can do a lot of different things. They probably have multiple weaknesses. It's just like for some people there's only one weakness.
Well, that we learned they were immune to fire as well.
Yeah. Because like obviously all we know is like the sound, the certain frequency basically disrupts them, and then you can obviously shoot them and kill them. And then obviously they're immune or not immune to water. They can't survive. They can't swim basically.
much.
It's not like Signs. Don't watch Signs. It's terrible M. Night film.
What sign? Is that the fucking?
The one Mel Gibson.
Oh, okay. I always get I get confused between a couple of. It's like Signs, The Happening, and other stuff. They're just kind of like
Yeah.
notoriously badly acted.
No, because
films.
Joaquin Phoenix is in Signs as well. As
Really?
as like a 20-year-old or something.
wow.
Yeah, really weird. The aliens are like allergic to water, so they just throw water on.
Oh, okay, that's that one.
Yeah. Why go to fucking Earth then? Like, you know. But no, like, I think I'd love to see a version of this where it's just one 3 hour long film, but there's like just this mild intermission in between. Because
Yeah,
I
that
think
would
it
be
works kind of well. I'd love to
It
see
picks up
even like
quite well.
a chronological order of this film, where it's just
That'd
that
be
middle
interesting.
sequence at the start, just as a variety, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be too
Almost,
much editing.
I do hope Krasinski's kind of directing career isn't dominated by the cinematic universe of A Quiet
Not just that,
Place.
but just horror. I'd love to see him do other projects now.
Well, I mean, I was very impressed with, for a new director to have kind of such a grasp of sound,
Mm.
which is like, I think a lot of big directors don't even have. I don't think any of the MCU films have ever really used sound that well.
Mm.
Apart from maybe Gone in with the Guardian
Mm.
soundtrack, but it's just, you know me, I shit on the MCU sound design all the time, like all the time. So yeah, so it's just for a guy to be so kind of new in his career.
Mm.
Yeah, I'd like to see him. I almost don't want him to sign a Marvel contract. I don't want to make him 9 fucking films of
Yeah.
Mr. Fantastic. I'd rather see him.
I don't think he will. I think he's like, I understand why actors at that age, because he's, you know, he's what, 40 something, mid 40s,
I think he's
early
mid-
40s.
He's just 41. He's only 41.
Or early 40s, anyways. At that age, you kind of want a safe bet, if you know what I mean.
You want someone that can make you some good money.
Yeah, while not being too much work. And that's why a lot of
Yeah.
people do like superhero films now, because it's just like, oh, it's easy money, and it's kind of enjoyable to do. Like Hemsworth, for example.
Well,
You
he
know.
wanted out. He only does it now because he gets so much creative freedom with it.
And you can just have fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He,
Again with
Well,
Downey. Downey was, what, fuck. Brave age, but still, you know, just he was there, he's like, I can have fun. You know what I mean? Make a lot of
Yeah,
money.
that's what- shit,
It's not really
Jason Momoa.
physically tolling. But no, I.
Well, especially with Downey, there was no physical toll on him really.
No, post Iron Man 3, fine.
Yeah, didn't really.
After that.
Iron Man 3, he got quite badly injured on.
Yeah,
And he fucked up his ankle.
yeah. But like, I wonder if he'll do a Jordan Peele, where he will just stick with horror, or he will just move on to different, like, other projects now.
I'd see him move on to other projects.
Like, I'd love to see him do, like, have the same kind of a career as, like, you know, James Wan or David F. Sandberg, where they went from doing, you know, horror to doing comedy, whereas he did, you know, you sort of see that blend, though. People tend to either work in comedy and then move or transition to horror, or vice versa. If you know what I
Something
mean.
I'd really like to see Krasinski do is not necessarily a rom-com, but like, I can't think of what's the word to describe it. You know, like a bit more of an art house film, but like some more like the Before trilogy, or like
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
I'd like to see him do something because his dialogue's really good. His dialogue's pretty good.
Well,
So I'd like to see a film that's just quite a lot of.
I give that more to the second film, because he didn't write the first one.
No, I wasn't more referring to the second one in terms of the interactions between Cillian
Because I
Murphy
think
and
that's
everyone.
one thing that a lot of people didn't even realize. Like, I think he
Is a writing credit on the first one?
yeah, but he didn't actually write he didn't do a screenplay. I don't think. He may have come up with the story or the concept.
He did do the screenplay. He didn't actually do the story.
All right,
So it was the other
but
way around.
because the
He
two
was one of
other
the
guys
writers on
that
the
did it,
screenplay.
they were like, no, we don't want to do a sequel. We want to do other things. And
Yeah.
so he was like, all right, I'll just do it myself. And
He did a good job of it.
you know, I think both films as a whole, I don't think one's better than the other, to be honest. I think
I think they work well together.
exactly. I think they both work very well. I love the fact that it's called Part 2.
Yeah, it's
Because
often
it is
quite
a
ballsy
continuation.
it's often quite ballsy to refer to yourself as part two.
Yeah.
Because usually it doesn't. Like
Yeah.
it was quite bad for it. Well, it was a part. Well, it was a part two, and it was. I just really didn't like that second bit.
Like, I think the only stuff that does well is when, you know, usually the ones that do it well is when the first one's called part one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well,
Because
Back to
it's
the Future did it well.
yes, 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 for being years apart.
That was like 5 years between.
Yeah, because they
one and
filmed two and
wasn't it?
three back to back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
'cause 2 and 3, I think were almost like they were like 3 months or something. Like something
yeah,
mad.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was a bit
I
of
think
a
Matrix-
Matrix situation.
2 and 3, yeah. I think
Mm.
you've told a story about a relative of yours came out of 2 and went right into 3.
Yeah, and it was like, oh yeah, and I completely forgot everything about three and said, oh well, oh my god, but what about this? This was amazing. They're like, yeah, no, that happened in two. I had a similar situation with The Hobbit. Because
Hobbit's fair enough, but I forget what
Yeah,
happened in a lot of them,
yeah.
especially like the first two.
I watched the second one and like right before I watched the third one, I didn't watch the third one. I was like, oh, but this was great, and you know, people were like, nah, that was the second one, man. I was like, all right. Um,
Third one was a bit crap.
mm,
Yes, so there's a spin-off, which was an idea made by Krasinski, but he's not writing it.
He'll just produce
Jeff
it, I imagine.
Nichols is set to write and direct a spin-off. That's
Who?
2023. Someone called Jeff Nichols.
Jeff Nichols. Don't think I've heard of him.
He made Mud.
All right. It's an enjoyable film.
Is that the McConaughey one? I need
The
to watch
what?
that. McConaughey one.
Oh, I thought you said David McConaughey. I was like, who the fuck's David McConaughey? I was like, what?
And yeah, apparently they might be doing a third normal one.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, no, they'd have to, I'd say. Because, like, it sort of ends in that way that the first one did.
Yeah.
Where it's open-ended. Where it
Yeah,
could
nothing
be
works.
an ending, but it's also a continuation, if you know what I mean.
I wouldn't want any more than 3. I do quite like trilogies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 100%. Well, I think the only problem I have with 2 is something they could never change whatsoever, and there's nothing they could do about it. And
What?
that is, the boy kid has aged.
As yeah, which are the girl
and he got
aged.
taller. Yeah, but
The
not as
girl
much.
aged as well.
Not as
It
much.
was
'Cause-
really noticeable in the flashback sequence.
Yeah,
when she's babying this like 9-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but it's just like I was just like, no, I give it a pass. 'Cause I'm just like, no, because it'd be confusing to recast it.
It was better than the CG faces in it, to be honest.
Yeah, I completely think it was fine just to like, just fuck it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it just doesn't matter.
It was obviously it was never planned to have a sequel, so there was nothing they could kind of do about
I mean, they
it.
filmed it quick enough because it was supposed to release 2020, so it means they filmed it probably 2019.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna guess it's probably still actually 2 years.
Well, he's the kid, and I watched him in Honey Boy.
Oh, he's in that.
He's in that. He's very good in that. He is a good actor. Like, he's very good in that. That's probably my favorite performance of him. Yeah.
Mm.
But like that was obviously filmed in between those two films, and you can sort of see, because like if you watch like Quiet Place, and then you watch Honey Boy, and then you watch part two, like you could see him just grow up basically. Because like I think each one set, you know, like it's like the first Quiet Place was what, 2018, then Honey Boy was 2019, and part two was well originally
Supposed to be
2020. Yeah, so well, I'd love to see it. I think it'd be smart to do a time skip now. To have
You
the
could probably
baby
get
like
away
grown
with
up.
the time. You could probably get away with time skip. Well,
Yeah.
it's just it's kind of uninteresting to keep as the baby being the problem.
Mm.
I think it'd almost be more interesting trying to raise a kid who's known nothing but this world.
Well, I think it would parallel the first film very well with the opening of the first film.
yeah, but imagine they just have a kid who's just like doesn't give a fuck about any of that.
Well,
shit.
just no, but imagine a kid that is at that age that small kid at the start was, who was just like,
Yeah.
well, to a kid it's so confusing. You know what I mean? Because it's like you don't understand really, because
This
you're
kid
so
who knows
young.
nothing but this.
Yeah. But
Benefit
also to
is
see a
that-
kid that's grown up in this world
Yeah,
would be interesting.
I don't know if The Walking Dead, The Walking Dead season 4 do that.
I don't know. I only saw the first season. Oh,
I'm
do
on
you
about the
mean the game?
Yeah,
I haven't played it. It's the only one I haven't played. I really need to play it. Just to finish this fucking series.
I haven't even played 3 to be honest.
Three's just it shouldn't have been 3. It shouldn't be called. I mean, it's not called season 3. Thank God. and you
Yeah, it
don't
is.
really. No, it's called New Frontier.
I swear it was still marketed as season 3 though.
No, it was to sort of like draw fans in, but it wasn't actually called season 3. Like, you don't need to play it, but I like the fact that it's kind of like Fear the Walking Dead, where it's like a separate story altogether.
Yeah, it is called New Frontier actually.
Because it's completely
never
different
heard of
characters,
that.
and the only character that is in it is Clementine.
And the kid.
And the kid, obviously, yeah. Well, not really, but
I haven't played 3.
yeah.
I have a question. Do people find... I think I've heard this before, but do some people find Stranger Things scary?
I think so, yeah. But a lot of people
Oh my
find...
God.
Well, the same people find that scary.
That's true. They are very similar. It's probably scarier than Stranger Things, though.
Well, I mean, I'd say we'll probably do an episode like this again in October, I imagine. Just about horror. Because
This one was a little bit rambly. Well, it was mainly
was
kind of talking
mildly
about Quiet Place. It was more so our thoughts on horror
rather than
as a
breaking down
concept
something.
after having experienced Quiet Place.
It's
1
kind of
and
like
2.
a first reaction almost.
Yeah, it's our opinions towards horror as a first reaction after watching those 2 films, as opposed to a Quiet Place review or a review on horror. It's more so just the thoughts we've been having these past couple of days after watching A Quiet Place.
Which kind of make you
'Cause
think
this
about the
kinda-
genre as a whole.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's one that's getting a lot less attention mainstream currently.
But
And
do
we're
go
seeing a lot
watch
of
both of them.
smaller.
Do
What?
go watch.
I'd recommend watching both of
Yeah,
them.
I enjoyed them.
I enjoyed them a lot.
I don't
Definitely,
put them on a pedestal like most people do, but I do enjoy them as films, like just narratively, anyways.
definitely don't skip the first one if you're watching the second.
Yeah.
Don't be one of those guys who thinks you're fucking class because you didn't watch the first one.
Yeah.
Like some people do that as almost a bragging right, and I never understand it.
Mm.
Because they're, how would I find the time to watch that? I'll just go watch the second. It's like, why?
Well, I remember I did it with Kingsman because I was just like, oh, sure, I'll just go watch it because I thought it was like James Bond where you didn't really need a
Yeah.
or like a Mission Impossible, and I was like, oh wait, no, you kind of really needed to watch the first one.
I have a super tangent to go on, actually.
Go on.
You know, I finally watched what I just never watched before.
Go on.
The first Mission Impossible.
Oh god, is it good?
It wasn't bad.
Do you want to
very
do Mission
funny that-
Impossibles next week?
I don't mind talking about the Mission Impossible.
Because I've
at some
only
point.
seen the recent one and 4.
I've seen all of them, so I'm not going to rewatch them.
Right.
I might rewatch 2.
I might rewatch. I might watch them for the first time.
They're good. Yeah, I watched the first one. It's just funny, the things that look dated now, effects wise. You're watching that not thinking, Jesus, that would look so much better today. You just watch it thinking, Tom Cruise would make them actually do this, wouldn't they?
Yeah, that's the difference. Yeah, because he's changed so much in 20 years, basically.
I know, like you'll definitely notice in the first one, Tom Cruise would 100% make them do a lot of it
Yeah,
because he obviously didn't have as much. It was like him looking like a fucking baby in it, even though he was probably in his mid-30s.
Yeah, well, he looks well for his age now, even.
I know, just those celebrities like Tom Cruise and Ricky Gervais just age well.
Well, Ray Gervais just.
Turned 60.
Yeah, I know, he just reversed his age, basically. Well, that's because he lost a ton of weight, basically, but turned vegan, and then grew a beard. That's what you do. And
Didn't
had
even
no
need a hair
kids.
transplant. The kids thing did help him.
Yeah, I think that helps a lot of people. Well, Tom Cruise.
And the way. Yeah, but he barely sees his kids.
That's what I'm saying. Having no
Remember
kids.
the theory, doesn't he have an adopted son or something?
Yeah, him and Nicole Kidman, I think, adopted a son, and I think maybe a daughter. I'm not sure.
There's a theory that that's actually his biological son. It's just not the biological mother, and it was with the housekeeper or something.
Oh, jeez, I don't think that's true.
I don't know. There was photo. I think it's Connor Cruise. There's like a photo. It was when he was younger. He used to look a lot more like Tom, whereas now he's just looks nothing like him. But when he was younger, he looked a lot like Tom. Like they had similar kind of mannerisms. People genuinely believed it was. All right, okay, Alex. I'm gonna send you a photo, and this is kind of stuff people are talking about. Alex, I want you to edit this. I just can't even edit.
How can I edit this? It's audio. It's not
I
visual.
want you to put it on. I forgot that we don't do the YouTube ones anymore.
It doesn't.
I want you to put this on the people.
Right,
this is one of the photos you.
Right, this will go on the Instagram, but people are gonna be so fucking confused.
That That looks nothing like him.
I know it
actually.
doesn't
That's
look.
not the best
Obviously, it doesn't
example.
look like him. But I don't know what these series.
How did I
stand
end up
for.
on this in horror? You should cut this earlier. But he has aged well.
Yeah. Right. Right, that has been Har and Tom Cruise and his son. We might be doing Mission Impossible next week. We shall see. We'll probably
Fair,
touch
fuck
on
Mission
Har
Impossible.
again.
We could just do the state of Tom Cruise with Top Gun Maverick coming out.
No. Well, that's true. Well, I think we should just wait to do Mission Impossible till the new one comes out, which could be
I
next
mean,
year.
that's not for ages. We
Yeah,
could do
I'm
it
not
with Top
too
Gun.
far though. But anyways, we will probably touch on Har again. Come October. I'm sure we'll do a
Definitely
couple
touch on Tom
episodes on
Cruise
it probably. Because I want to rewatch Hellraiser and probably Evil Dead. But yeah, any final thoughts on him?
Go watch A Quiet Place, and if your teenagers don't fuck in the woods, or else a monster will come after you.
See, I have a caveat to that. How about go watch Quiet Place, then Honey Boy, then Part 2? That's a great trilogy.
Then don't fuck in the woods.
Good night.